Welcome back, Will. You've been on a couple of times previously. Europa are AIM listed. Europa Oil and Gas has recently become a UK, Ireland and West Africa focused oil and gas exploration, development and production company. So a little bit of everything in there. Assets range from newly acquired gas exploration in Equatorial Guinea, a high impact gas exploration well with 1.4 trillion cubic feet potential, close to existing infrastructure, which is what everyone is looking for, and 100% of the Inishkea West licence off the coast of Ireland, which has similarly huge gas potential and also close to the producing Corrib gas field. On both these projects, Europa are seeking a partner to drill a discovery well. Europa also hold various onshore UK gas and oil assets onshore UK. Here to discuss all these and more is CEO Will Holland.
Oh, good to be back. Thank you for having me again. And yes, it's been an exciting year. Actually, a lot's gone on since I last spoke to you. So I'd like to go through that quickly, and hopefully we can cover all the ground. Recognise don't have a huge amount of time. The disclaimer, first of all, London listed. We have to show that. I'll let people read that in their own time. So what is Europa Oil and Gas? Well, we are an oil and gas company. It says what it says on the tin. We are a company that's got a number of different assets in various stages of their life cycle. We've got some onshore UK production, predominantly in the Wressle field, which is where most of our production comes from. We've got some development potential in that field as well. We'll talk a bit about that. And we've got some appraisal potential in both our Cloughton onshore UK gas field, but also in our Serenity offshore UK field. And then we've got these two, as you described, ILX fields. Sorry, am I coming through all right, Donald? Just sort of check. I can't hear you, but okay.
You want to?
I'm assuming that I am.
You're absolutely fine, Will. You're absolutely fine. On you go. We're enjoying you.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't just talking to myself there. So.
Talking to the ether. No, you're talking to us.
Great. So yeah, we've also got these two very exciting. What the term is ILX, infrastructure-led exploration opportunities. One in Ireland and one in Equatorial Guinea. And I'll focus a lot on those because they have a huge amount of potential to drive a lot of value with the business. So let me just go through those. First of all, here are our financials for the financial year end of 2023. They're a little bit out of date now, and we're putting our interims out. Our interim year end, or our mid-year is end of January, so we will have our interims coming out shortly. But our cash position as of November was 4.3 million. We're not looking to raise any money. We don't need to raise any money. Our current work program is all within our financial means. And that's a very important part for us to make sure we are operating within our financial means. Let's move on to Wressle first. Well, actually, let's look at onshore UK. So onshore UK, we've got a number of assets, 4 of them in production. From the slide you're looking at now, the ones with the green dot are the ones in production. But by far the largest is Wressle, and there's a zoom in sort of picture there that shows the Wressle oil field with the Broughton exploration prospect to the north of it. But just a little bit to the west of that is also Crosby Warren, which is also ours, and we operate that. But I'll talk a little bit about that, but I'm also going to talk a lot about Cloughton, which is our appraisal asset, which we are very excited by. Before I get on to that, Wressle, we announced our revised CPR numbers at the beginning of the year, showed significant upgrades to the old numbers, and we have a development program that we are planning with our partners, Egdon, to put to execute over the course of the next 12 months or so. We are waiting for our EA approvals. That's the main thing, and planning approvals. In the UK, that's one of the biggest hurdles you've got to get over to actually start operations. But there's plenty of running room here. The Ashover Grit, which we've got just under 500,000 barrels left to produce. We've already produced over 500,000 barrels. So we're going to carry on producing in that, but we're going to be targeting the Penistone flags. which has got significant resource, sort of double that, more than double that, sort of 2 million barrels equivalent. So what does that involve? Well, we need to expand the pad. We've got a pad in Wressle, and it's not big enough for the additional wells, so we need to increase the size of the pad. We're then going to drill these 2 wells, and we're going to connect a pipeline from the pad into a local gas grid. That requires a little bit of gas processing on site, and then a 600-meter or so pipeline to connect to the export route. So we've done a lot of the engineering here. We know where we're going to put the wells. We know what this is all going to look like. We're now applying for all of the approvals that we need, and we've identified a rig, and we hope to execute this program as soon as we get the EA approval, which is going to be the end of this year. So that's exciting, a very important cash flow for us. It keeps all the lights on. It not only does that, we generate additional free cash from this as well. And the field continues to perform above expectations. I will actually note that the ERC CPR, we're already above their P90 curve. Actually, we're almost above their P10 curve. But let me talk about Cloughton now, because Cloughton is something which we took over operatorship of at the middle of last year. Now, Cloughton is an onshore UK gas discovery. It's north of where the Wressle field is. It's just to the south of the Yorkshire Moors. And it was drilled back in 86, and it made a discovery in 86, and it discovered gas. The gas didn't flow at commercial rates. It didn't flow at commercial rates for a number of reasons. It didn't flow at commercial rates, one, because the reservoir was quite tight, but also because the gas price was very low. When we looked at this, we did an asset assessment in the middle of the year and realized actually current operating environment, current completion techniques, current gas price, this is actually could be a potentially very material asset. 192 million billion cubic feet of gas is a lot of gas. It's equivalent to 32 million barrels, and that's in place. So recovery factors, gas you can recover normally more than you can recover from an oil field. So if we can recover 50% of that, we'll be recovering 16 million barrels of oil. So equivalent. It's obviously gas, but it's just to provide an equivalent number to oil. It's a material volume. So we think that's very exciting. We think it's a very valuable asset. We've just got to prove, can we flow the gas at the rate that we think we can flow? If we can, we're within a kilometre of an export route, and this is a very material appraisal well, because by proving we can flow at commercial rates would unlock what is clearly a very material resource. So we're excited by that, and looking forward to progressing that project over the course of this year. We also have Serenity, which is offshore. Now, Serenity was the appraisal well that we drilled a couple of years ago now, and it was disappointing, but we still have a discovery there in Serenity, and we're looking to monetize the discovery by tying back to the nearby infrastructure. There's a bit of work to do there. We really need to pick up an adjacent asset to make this work. So we're applying to the NSTA for an out-of-round application to do that. The NSTA is the regulator, and they are willing to entertain these discussions, and we will progress those discussions accordingly over the course of the year. But let's get on to the sort of high-impact stuff, the ILX I was telling about, infrastructure-led exploration. Now, why is this attractive? Infrastructure-led exploration is what all of the majors are looking for now in their exploration portfolio. It means that you can bring any discovery online quickly because it's close to existing infrastructure. Now, the key thing there is you need to be close to existing infrastructure that has capacity to take your product. Well, we certainly have this in Ireland. The Ireland, it is a discovery. Well, we've got the Corrib field offshore Ireland, which is the only indigenous source of gas in Ireland, which is connected to a gas terminal called the Ballineboy gas terminal. And that provides Ireland with about 25% of its gas. The rest of its gas it gets from the UK through an interconnector. We have the license adjacent to it. And if I move on to the next slide, you can see here, if you look at the slide in the top right-hand corner where it says east, next to that it says Corrib. That's the Corrib field. The white lines going down into the red is the wells going into the gas field in Corrib. You follow that horizon across to where it says Inishkea West at the top. You see there the Corrib sandstone label. That's the Inishkea West gas field, the gas prospect that we have. That's 18 kilometres away from the Corrib manifold. So it's a relatively easy and quick tieback to Corrib. And there's plenty of capacity in Corrib. Corrib is in decline, and we can tie that in relatively easily. Now, how big is it? 1.5 TCF of gas. That's the other thing which will be very attractive to a farming, if it is a material side. But let's look at the supply and demand for Ireland. And this chart here shows the historic supply and demand for Ireland gas since the Kinsale gas field started producing back in the 70s. And there you can see the Corrib gas field coming on, and you can see that Corrib is in decline. And you can see also that the Blennerboyd terminal capacity, that it's got plenty of capacity in that terminal, and there overlaid is the Inishkea West if we have a discovery. So, and the grey part there is the imports from the UK. So sort of using a rough eye, we can see that we can be providing sort of through that manifold with Corrib and Inishkea together over 75% of Ireland's domestic gas requirements. So it's very material. Now, some people look at Ireland and they'll talk about the fact that they're no longer approving any exploration licensing. Well, that's licensing. The Irish honour the existing contracts, and we've just had an extension for our contract, for our licence. So we've had it extended by 2 years to the end of January 2026. So we've got 2 years to reprocess a seismic. We've already reprocessed it without getting too technical a couple of times, and that really improved the imaging. It reduced the risk around whether we were going to have a successful discovery, and we can do another step in that reprocessing, which should hopefully reduce the risk even further. And then we'll be looking to farm out and bring a partner in to drill the well for us and carry us 100%. Now, this would be a very material discovery for the company, and not only the company, it's a strategically important asset for Ireland. So moving on from Ireland, we go to Equatorial Guinea. Now, it looks a bit of a departure from the UK and Ireland. Well, when I took over as CEO back in March of last year, we did a sort of strategic review of what we had and what assets we had, and how do we continue to add value? How do we look for really high impact opportunities which can really drive value and make a material impact on the share price? And one of the considerations to that is going into jurisdictions, one that we knew, where we have experience, but also into jurisdictions where it's a friendly operating environment, where you're welcomed, where you can do things quickly, where you don't have to wait a long time for the necessary approvals. And so when we looked at it with those lenses of where we have experience, where we like the geology, and where we like the operating environment, we ended up looking a lot in West Africa. And we used our existing contacts within West Africa to discuss opportunities, and we looked at a lot of opportunities. And this one really rose to the top. We really like this asset. And why did we like it? Well, it was infrastructure-led exploration again, but it's different type of exploration. It's infrastructure-led. So I will quickly show you here. This is I've got another slide which will talk to you about how close it is to infrastructure. So let me talk to you about the technical side first. So this slide here shows a significant brightening. This is called an AVO response. This is a seismic response which indicates gas. Now, you might hear other people talking about these type of responses. They can be very good indicators, but they can also be a bit not as clear-cut as you think. You have to have them calibrated. We know this is calibrated because it's the same play as the Chevron field to the south. It's the same response as the Chevron field to the south. And if I move on to the next slide, here you can see our prospects A, B, and C, which those three prospects together are 1.5 TCF of gas on a P mean. And you see to the south, we've got this Chevron-operated field called Alain. We're 9 kilometers away from that. And we're 9 kilometers away from a pipeline which has got plenty of capacity and plenty of ullage as well. And that goes into the Bioko Island LNG terminal, which liquefies the gas and sends it into the global market, most of it going into Europe. So this calibrated response, because we know it's the same play and it's the same AVO response as the Chevron discovery, and there have been 8 exploration wells drilled on this play, and 7 of those 8 exploration wells have found commercial volumes of gas. All 8 of them found gas, but 1 of them was sub-commercial. The other 7 were all commercial. But with those sort of statistics, when we look that into what is that from a volumetric standpoint, what is that from a chance of success standpoint, we end up with, I said 1.5 TCF. I was over-egging it a bit. I'm sorry. It's actually 1.386 BCF, so just under 1.5 TCF. 9 kilometers away from exploration. Each one of those 3 prospects is a 60 to 70% chance of success. So when you run the statistics on that, we end up with a 91% chance that we're going to make a commercial discovery if we test all 3 of those prospects. That's world class. That's absolutely exceptional to get those types of chance of success so close to infrastructure. So we think when we to farm this out, it's a between $30 to $50 million well. So we're looking for a farming partner in order to drill this and test these prospects. So this is a summary. All of these slides will be on our website, by the way, after the presentation. So hopefully you can spend a bit more time going through the various bullet points yourself. I'm just hitting on the high points, but we really liked it because we think this will be very compelling for an operator to take over and farm into this. And they're already there and they're already very active. So we're very excited by that. We're about to start the farm out campaign within a short period of time. We're still going to look for new ventures. We're still going to carry on looking for new opportunities. It's still going to be in the same vein, things that we know, people we know, use our network and within our financial capability. That's very important to us as well. There's a couple of others. I recognise I'm running out of time, I think, Donald. So there's a couple of other slides. That's showing the Alain platform in Equatorial Guinea. And then the last one is a picture of myself and a couple of colleagues when we were having our TCM-OCM meeting in Malabo earlier this month, actually, with the Director of Hydrocarbons and a picture of an LNG tanker unloading LNG at the Bioko Island terminal. So with that, I'll wrap up.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That was terrific, really interesting. You've done such a lot. You've been in charge less than a year. So talk us through what you've actually achieved in less than a year, because what I'm hearing from that presentation is a lot of momentum. And I'm not sure there was so much momentum in the business before. So I think you should take a bow.
Well, thank you very much, Donald. Yeah, I mean, we've been busy. It's been a very busy year, we've done everything from helping. When we do work very closely with our partners in Wressle, we do the reservoir engineering for them. So we're working very closely on optimizing the Wressle production. We then took over operatorship of Cloughton in July. And we've worked up that opportunity. We've quantified the size of the prize, 192 BCF, which is equivalent to 32 million barrels. Then we picked up EG08 in Equatorial Guinea in December, and then in January, just very recently, we had our extension for Island FEL 419. So it has been very busy, and that's how I like it, actually. And we will continue to do that, and we will continue to work up other opportunities as well as progressing the ones we've got very hard. So okay. Yes, I hope to maintain this
Yes,
momentum.
exactly. You've got to keep going now.
Yes.
Now, let me quickly take you to Penistone Flags. We've got Adam James, who's not seeing the momentum. He's thinking you could do better. He's looking for a planning application for the Penistone Flags and the 600 metres pipeline, something you said you would do well over a year ago. Let me put that to you.
Yes, and very valid point. Very valid point, and it has been quite disappointing at how long it's taken to get to this stage. One of the way the process works is that we have to go through this. The main application is the Environment Agency application. So typically, what happens is you do a pre-application. You say, this is what we're going to apply for. Can you tell us if we've covered everything? And the EA will sit down and go through it, and they say, okay, you've come up with 17 reports. Actually, you think you've missed one, so go and add this report and then submit it on that basis. The problem is if you don't have all of the reports in the application, they can often reject your application. You've got to start again. So doing a pre-application prevents that from happening. Now, unfortunately, the EA are very busy, and we've been with our partners working very hard to try and attract their attention and get them to give us this pre-application meeting, which has now been scheduled, and we are going to have that meeting imminently. So on the back of that, they'll tell us everything which they expect us to do, and then we'll put the application in. So on that basis, and it should take about 6 to 9 months based on from once the application goes in, before we would expect to receive the permit. So, we're hoping that we'll get that by the end of the year, and then we'll be straight into the operations.
Great. Okay, you were mentioning Cloughton, and having been overlooked for a while, you now see Cloughton as a really good prospect. You've just become operator, and you've just been given a licence extension. So two points to note in terms of momentum. Richard Stabbins asks, the 1986 gas appraisal well was located more than 2 kilometres inside the Yorkshire National Park. Will the EOG be able to find a suitable well location near enough to the discovery for it to be commercial? And you were making the point that it needs to flow. So, and that's the big thing. It's got to flow sufficiently. So there you go. Yeah. Take us away.
I mean, it's a very good point. I mean, the original discovery well was drilled in the national park in '86 when you could do that. We're going through a stakeholder engagement process at the moment where we're talking to all of the stakeholders before we really start committing resources to drilling this well. I mean, when I say resources, I'm talking about doing the technical work to get the well drilled. We need to make sure that all of the stakeholders who need to approve it are on board with us. And the National Park Authority is one of those stakeholders. And we have engaged with them, and they're very happy for us to extract the resource from underneath the national park, but they don't want us to drill in the national park. So we've been looking for a suitable pad. Now, a lot of people will have heard me talk before, and they'll know that the largest landowner to the south is the Duchy of Lancaster, which is the king. Now, we've spoken to the Duchy of Lancaster, and they are receptive, and they haven't said no, but they've been quite slow. So we started to look for other alternatives, and we have found a number of other alternatives, and we've found a number of other landowners who are much more receptive, and we hope to be able to announce the results of those in the coming weeks, actually, when we've secured a suitable pad. Now, is it going to be optimally located to recover all of the resource in this structure? Maybe not as good as the original pad, but we still hope to access the vast majority of it, and it will be in an area which won't cause problems with local people. It will be an area which where we've got stakeholder engagement, where we know we're not going to receive issues from our various stakeholders there. So watch this space.
Okay, Equatorial Guinea. It's a fairly new addition. Why did it catch your eye? How did you find out about it? What are the next steps? What's the work programme like going to be in the next year, I would have thought? And realistically, how long will it take to actually find a well partner if you want 100% carry?
Yeah. So, I mean, we found it through a very proactive process that we went through to using our network of looking at different hydrocarbon basins and identifying areas that we liked, and why do we like them from a subsurface standpoint, and then who do we know within those basins that we can approach directly and have a direct one-on-one negotiation with them. So it came through that process, and it came through our existing contacts. Why do we like it? We like it because we think a major will be all over this, and they will farm into it very readily. Now, you could ask the question, well, why did they not farm out to one of those majors right from the beginning? Well, the reason for that is because you had to the data hadn't been acquired at the time, so you needed to be able to have a bit of a leap of faith with the people that you were dealing with. And we'd all worked with these people, so this is where it's really important to use your network of technical people where you know who they are and you trust them and you've worked with them in the past. The local team, the Antler team, have all worked with our team in the past at various different connections, from our chairman through to our G&G team. They knew them, and there was a lot of trust involved in that. We now have the data, we've worked the data up, so we know that it is as good as we expected it to be, and we're now preparing the data room to start the farming process. That's going to start imminently, and we hope to be able to farm it down within this year, and then hopefully we'll be drilling a well at the beginning of next year.
Okay. Sticking with Equatorial Guinea, Michael Isherwood, it wouldn't be a webinar without a question from Michael Isherwood. Thank you, Michael. He asks if there's scope to collaborate across the maritime border with Cameroon on the gas project in Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah, good. Dad Michael is pitching in. There is. Now, there's a bit of people that know the area will know there has been some problems in the past. There's a field called Yolanda to the south of ours, which spans both countries' licenses, jurisdiction, sorry. And but they're coming to a point where they think they might be able to unitize that. But we don't think it's necessary, actually. When we look at the Elaine field to the south of us, which we believe we've got an analog to, that doesn't go into Cameroon. It's just entirely within EG. We think we've got the same type of play. So we don't think it's necessary, actually. But if it does happen, nothing stops us from developing what's on the EG side. And in fact, we could drill wells right up on the border and drain gas from the EG side if it did extend into that.
Okay, now my final question, and it must be a brief answer, I'm afraid. We are genuinely out of time. 30 hertz seismic studies is what you plan for Inishkea West. Now, Inishkea West, I suspect, is a fantastic opportunity, but it needs a little bit of a kick start. So why do you think this extra level of seismic is the answer?
It clarifies the subsurface. It improves the imaging of the subsurface. How much more will it improve it from the 20 hertz is yet to be determined. It may not be much, but again, it'll just try to de-risks where the potential failure areas could be. But why is someone going to like it? Because again, it's infrastructure-led exploration. I've said that a few times tonight. It can be brought online very quickly. It's a lookalike to the Corrib field. It's a very attractive fiscal environment. It's arguably not as attractive operating environment because of the Irish government, which can be a little bit unstable. And that's the challenge that we've got, is to attract someone in to come into Ireland where historically it's been viewed as essentially not a hospitable operating environment. But it's a world-class play in a very attractive fiscal environment that can be brought online very quickly, putting gas into the European system. So that's going to attract, and it has attracted when we started the farm out process last year. It will attract some people. It's whether we can close it and get a good deal is our challenge, and hopefully we'll do that over the course of the next year.
Great, that's terrific. Will Holland, CEO at Europa Oil and Gas, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Such an interesting company with lots of interesting prospects there.